Every day, we spend some of our time out of this world. We spend it on words in our books, worlds in our video games, and pictures on our screens. As technology becomes more and more advanced, we as humans become more and more connected, be it through Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We are all there, watching, making, creating, voting, judging, and sharing all in a massive cloud of interconnected data. Yet still, we remain ourselves. We remain unique. We all have our own lives, wants and desires, fears and friends. So then, if we are all unique, why do we choose to share so much? Why do we not just choose, but actively pursue to adhere to cultural and social norms, almost like we're begging to be assimilated? There is no clear answer. Human psychology is difficult. Nobody is truly predictable, just like the world we live in isn't predictable either. And just like this world we live in, the cultures and people that exist within it aren't predictable either. 100 years ago, there was a general consensus that by now, everyone would be driving to work in a flying car. Hell, not even 30 years back, people still thought that things like hoverboards and self-tying shoelaces and being able to cook meals in 5 seconds flat would be the norm by now. Trends, fashions, ideas, ideologies, they all impact us and influence us just as much, if not more, than the friends you have and stories you share. Anything can be spread through a culture. Anything can become a new norm. When something becomes shared, it spreads. Its circle of influence grows wider and wider until that thing becomes the new norm, the new culture. And these things, whether they be a trending picture on the internet or the newest, latest fashion design, they all have a name we all know, a name we call memes. Whether you've been on the internet for 5 years or 5 minutes, you've probably seen one of these pictures. You might have liked it, you might have even laughed, might have even shared it with your friends, and this allows its circle of influence to grow. You become a carrier of the picture, of the meme. Nowadays, you can walk up to anyone and ask them what they think the word meme means. Chances are, the response you get is exactly what you thought it would be. Memes are just a funny picture spread across the internet. And while they aren't wrong, they aren't necessarily right either. Nowadays, the definition of the word meme has become somewhat tainted. If we look at the definition of the word meme, it tells us that memes are an idea, behaviour, style or usage that spreads from person to person within a culture. It seems as though the definition of the word matches what we believe the memes are, but that's not to say it's all correct. If we take a step back and look at the definition in a broader sense, you'll start to notice something, that maybe the term was originally supposed to mean something greater. And this, the idea of a meme in its full untampered originality, is what we're going to explore today. So join me, fellow viewers, as we embark on a journey to discuss the origins of the term meme, discuss its greater cultural importance, and how it came to be what it is today. When you hear the word memes, what is the very first thing that comes into your head?
Damn, Daniel.
The Stoner Stanley meme, which is my favourite meme.
I'd say an image, usually with a caption on it, making somewhat of a joke.
Pictures or images with text at the top and text at the bottom, kind of an internet phenomenon.
And ye, and everything related to Harry Potter.
Are you familiar with how the term was invented?
No, I'm not.
Not particularly, no.
I was made aware recently that Richard Dawkins had a lot of say in how memes were made, and he was one of the first original creators of memes.
Well, the first time I heard it was through the internet, with the black and white kind of drawn memes that were around for a couple of years, and then it slowly developed into like captions.
Why do you think that in recent years internet memes have become such a widespread and popular thing?
Maybe because a lot of people can laugh at it, it's relatable, it's not too hard to make a meme.
I think it was accidental, but I think as well, because of the internet, it's been easier for people to share stuff and make things that they want other people to see.
They usually evolved around something that's new or trending, so...
Because it makes people laugh, it's a very positive and amusing concept.
In closing, what is your favourite internet meme?
There's a few from Pepe to Leonardo DiCaprio.
Stoner, certainly.
There's one with a seal, but I forget the name of it. It's one with a seal.
Ye.
Let's go back in time now to 1976, the year that saw the release of Richard Dawkins' literary work, The Selfish Gene. In this book, he chose to put forth an idea not applicable to genes and genetics, but instead culture, a form of cultural evolution. He stated, "We need a name for the new replicator, a noun that conveys the idea of a unit of cultural transmission, or a unit of imitation. My meme comes from a suitable Greek root, but I want a monosyllable that sounds a bit like gene. I hope my classicist friends will forgive me if I abbreviate my meme to meme. If it's any consolation, it could alternatively be thought of as being related to memory, or to the French word mémé. This was how the word came about. It is, in a sense, the very origins of the term. But over the years, as the word became part of the general dictionary, its relevance soon began to fade. Let's look at an example that is quite often debated in our modernist societies. Religion. We view the world as we understand it. Our interpretations shape the way we see these things. And when we're told from birth that God is real, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, all of them real, we take that as true, because why wouldn't it be? It's what I was told was the truth. It's what I was told from birth. The idea of religion, of faith, of God, it was passed on from parent to child, from child to grandchild. The meme, the ideology, spread across the population. As of recent years, these ideologies have begun to dwindle a little, with the rise of atheist ideologies such as Darwinism. But it's still there. The meme has just been overtaken somewhat. If a new gene is introduced into the pool and it has a difference that gives it an advantage over the others, that gene will then begin to grow, to propagate. And if someone, just a single person, instead decided that they didn't like the idea of religion, that they would want to pass a new idea to their children, which would prevent them from falling into the ideologies of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Sikhism, etc., then the parents of this child could tell them about this. And, if successfully integrated, the child will grow believing this, and it may even spread this ideology to their friends, allowing its circle of influence to grow, and soon, if it spreads far enough, it can become the new norm. That is an extreme example. There are many more subtle memes in our world today, be it through fashion trends or simple little pictures, but they all combine to make up what we know as culture. When we recall the names of people whose lives ended long ago, we remember them for a reason. We don't just pull out Dan the White Van Man or Barbara the Tudor hairdresser for the sake of it. We remember people because of what they achieved, how they impacted society, the discoveries they made, the bounds they dared to leap, and the small steps they took, all in the name of what they believed. Richard Dawkins puts it like this. When we die, there are two things we can leave behind us, genes and memes. We are built as gene machines, created to pass on our genes, but that aspect of us will be forgotten in 3 generations. Your child, even your grandchild, may bear a resemblance to you, perhaps in facial features, talent for music, colour of its hair, but as each generation passes, the contribution of your genes is halved. It doesn't take long to reach negligible proportions. But if you contribute to the world's culture, if you have a good idea, compose a tune, invent a sparking plug, write a poem, it may live on, intact, long after your genes have dissolved into the common pool. Socrates may or may not have a gene or two alive in the world today, as G.C. Williams has remarked, but who cares? The meme complexes of Socrates, Leonardo, Copernicus and Marconi are still going strong. Genes are not immortal. They all eventually die out or become lost into the common pool, but memes are, in a sense of the word, immortal. They live on after your death, and they can help others remember you long after you have passed away. Take, for example, the popular literary author Joanne Rowling. Her books of witchcraft and wizardry have been enjoyed by millions of people the world over, and these people aren't going to forget her. Due to the popularity of her books, she has become an integral character in history. The way her works have been consistently handed down from parent to child over the years has caused her meme, this being the memory of J.K. Rowling, be it through her inspiration of your own writing style or the perception of witchcraft and wizardry you have, to live on, and it will likely continue to live long after she has passed away. In a sense, the memory of her has infected your brain memetically. Mimetically. Memetically. Richard Dawkins states, if a scientist hears or reads about a good idea, he passes it on to his colleagues and students. He mentions it in his articles and lectures. If the idea catches on, it can be said to propagate itself, spreading from brain to brain. Memes should be regarded as living structures, not just metaphorically, but technically. When you plant a fertile meme in my mind, you literally parasitize my brain, turning it into a vehicle for the meme's propagation, in just the way that a virus may parasitize the genetic mechanism of a host cell. And this just isn't a way of talking. The meme for, say, belief in life after death is actually realised physically, millions of times over, as a structure in the nervous systems of individual men and women the world over. When we talk about memes, we often talk about infection. When a meme is passed to you, that meme will almost literally parasitize your brain, turning you into a sort of vector for the meme's propagation. Say, for example, I myself write a book. If I was to send a link of my book to a friend or family member, they become a potential vector, which gives the book an allowance to propagate. If the person receiving the link of the book doesn't like the work, he or she probably won't share it to other people. The link for further propagation becomes shut off, and the chain ends there. However, if the person receiving the link does enjoy it, and then furthermore decides to share it between other people, the vector does its job, and knowledge of the book can spread, allowing its circle of influence to grow and come into contact with more and more people, allowing further mimetic parasitization. Eventually, the circle of influence may become maxed out in a sense, unable to spread any further. Maybe it ran out of suitable vectors, or people just stopped liking it and sharing it, once again halting its propagation. Or maybe it was caused by a replicator. An imitator. Imitators and replicators are, in a sense, vectors. However, they don't propagate the original meme. Instead, they create new memes by fashioning a unique idea under the appearance of the original. This could be through style, inspiration, or hell, even taking ideas directly from an already existing intellectual property in, say, just for example, what is called a fanfiction. They don't just expand and thrive upon the popularity of an already existing meme, but take on a new form of propagation all on their own. If we move back to modern times and observe what's going on now, what do we see? Is there someone you know, someone on TV, on your friends list, perhaps even in your own family, who wants to make a meme to be passed down to you? Modern media has come a long way. It's not simply about informing anymore. Now we educate and entertain atop that original purpose. We create shows and films that cater specifically to such desires. Television and film, hell, even video games now create narratives now that the viewer can find entertainment within. But despite this, when do we ever see film, TV or games ever try expanding their storylines into the world of meme theories? It does happen, but very, very rarely. But why not? Memes could be used as a plot device, villainous motivation, perhaps the actual message that it's trying to get across, but it just doesn't seem to happen anymore. But why haven't we seen more of it? The answer is simply because it's so hard to do. Constructing a story, or anything for that matter, around the concepts put forth by meme theory can prove to be a massive undertaking. There's just too much to cover, too much ground to dig. But it has been done before.
Meme theory suggests that items of gossip are like living things that seek to reproduce, using humans as their host.
I'm no stranger to mimetic epidemiology. At Johnson Elementary School, the phrase "Shelley Cooper's a smelly pooper" spread like wildfire.
I should think so. That's gold.
And one day, maybe it'll be done again. This could be the reason why the term became known for what it is today. Maybe this lack of dedication caused the term to just over time simply die out. Maybe it is wholly possible for such a thing to happen, but we're talking about the erasure of an entire word here. Or maybe we aren't. Maybe we're not talking about erasure, but instead, replacement. In 1974, the internet was officially deemed open. The general public soon flourished to the net, creating all kinds of virally spread trends. Of course, internet memes as we know them didn't come to fruition until the early parts of this century. Originally, internet memes were spread through image boards and forums, where they gained an audience and became recognisable under a specific format, the classic black and white impact font. Eventually, just like a meme in its original context, these images and the practices used in their creation soon spread across the net. And these images spread further and further until they reached the ultimate goal of mass recognition, where anyone could tell, even at a glance, if something was a meme or not. Memes go back a long way. In fact, I've already explored some of the newer ones with you in the other half of this documentary. But let's look at this chronologically and try to piece together the history of the net as best we can. Starting off in the year 2000, the song now known to the internet as Hamster Dance was released onto the net, which quickly amassed fame and fortune and is now one of the earliest examples of what we call a viral video. Soon, with the rise of the ability to share video game footage to the net, Eastern games such as that of Japanese shooter Zero Win, which was released in 1991, began to receive recognition for their ultimately awful methods of English translation, soon forming a new term used to describe horrible translations that today we call English, a trend that people are still exposing and laughing at in unison today. Perhaps one of the less subtle ones. Let's just say something takes you by surprise and suddenly... A little later on, we got some new tastes in the land of exotic musical sensations, such as the likes of Duck Song and... Soon, with enough time, even celebrities weren't safe, with the likes of Sean Bean and Gene Wilder becoming susceptible to the meme trends of the internet under the guise of One Does Not Simply and condescending Wonka. And let's not forget about that musical nonsense. New musical memes such as the now infamous Rickroll and Darude Sandstorm trolls have now become some of the most popular and recognisable tunes on the net. Now, let me tell you a story. There once was a man, and his name was John C. That was a little loud. Like, damn, Daniel. I really like the way I'm splicing these memes together. It feels really...
Nice.
There are so many memes on the internet, it's hard to keep count. I've hardly even scratched the surface, but that's not why you're here. You might think you're here to learn about internet memes and their funny sense of humour, but really, you aren't. In recent years, the original definition of meme has become lost to time, to the point where no one really knows what it is. And by me making this video and you watching it, I've created a vector. A vector not for a funny internet meme or a laughable piece of humour, but for that of knowledge. You are now a vector for the spread of this knowledge, of the knowledge of me. You can be the change I want to see in this world. All you have to do is spread the word. At this point, I think it's fair to say that memes have all but died out. As a matter of fact, they'll only get more and more popular as more and more people gain access to the internet. So as far as I'm concerned, we shouldn't be shying away from these memes and the cultures they create, just so long as we don't forget what the original word was trying to tell us. Whatever difference there was between Dawkins memes and internet memes there were, has evidently been dead for a long, long time now, so let's stop pretending they're the same thing, and love whatever memes we want.
Life isn't just about passing on your genes. We can leave behind much more than just DNA. Through speech, music, literature, and movies, what we've seen, heard, felt, anger, joy, and sorrow. These are the things I will pass on. That's what I live for. We need to pass the torch and let our children read our messy and sad history by its light. We have all the magic of the digital age to do that with. The human race will probably come to an end sometime, and new species may rule over this planet. Earth may not be forever, but we still have the responsibility to leave what traces of life we can. Building the future and keeping the past alive are one and the same thing.
Trends, fashions, ideas, ideologies,